Differing political views are apparently tearing families apart in Washington, D.C. And that's according to divorce lawyers who are noticing that while there might be a decline in divorce rates overall, there seems to be a spike in people citing political differences for the reason that they're divorcing, at least in Washington, D.C. So let's talk a little bit about what these lawyers are saying. So one D.C. lawyer says it's no longer who do you want for president? It branches into many other areas of how you have to relate to your spouse. Says local lawyer Cheryl New, think whether to send children to public or private schools or how to support your child should they identify as LGBTQ+. And look, at the heart of this is a tale as old as time or a conflict as old as time, right? I don't think most couples really think about how they might differ in parenting styles when they enter a marriage. And a lot of marriages do experience some stress after they have children because those differences start to come up. What makes this different is that the parenting styles are differing based on the political, ideological views that each parent has. So attorney Jessica Markham argues that the extreme ideological polarization started to play a role in divorces during COVID, when issues such as masking, vaccinations, and social distancing became politicized. And then in the years since COVID, apparently, at least in DC, it has gotten worse. So New is representing a liberal woman who married what she believed was a moderate Republican, but over time he has, according to her, become, more right wing, and he's been taking positions such as not acknowledging, January 6th, the attempt to install fake electors, all of that stuff, which isn't really about parenting style. So I'm gonna keep it real. If my husband was in that camp, I would be very dismayed by it. I don't know if I would divorce him over it. But if your ideology is like impacting parenting decisions, I can see it be a huge problem. Their increasingly opposing views have crept into every aspect of their lives, whether it's the children, whether it's what they're going to have for dinner, New says.
Hey, don't scroll away. Come back. Because before the video continues, we just want to urge you to lend your support to TYT. You power our honest reporting. You do it at tyt.com/team, and we love you for it.
So, John, as a relatively new father, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I can talk like hypothetically about this, but I haven't had to experience it with my own child because my wife and I agree on everything. And if we ever disagree, she has a better idea than me. In all cases, that's just the way it is. No, I'm kidding.
Good man.
Yeah. Look, obviously, like it's like an inflection point where disagreements become more consequential inside of an environment that is naturally higher stress than any other. I mean, a marriage is already that. You already have living together and having your habits sort of come into conflict. But then when there is a kid and you're worried about the future and everything, it's just another level of that. So I totally understand it. I wonder to what extent, I get some of the rise of some of the culture war stuff. I could see really weaponizing some built-in bigotries that might not have been as salient in the past. Like there's always been homophobes or whatever. I'm not sure that they have necessarily felt like it needs to be a part of their parenting as much as they do these days, but it's always overlapped to some extent. So I don't think that this is a fundamentally new thing. I think that a lot has changed politically and culturally coming out of the pandemic. Marriage shouldn't be immune from that. I wouldn't expect that it would be. But I think that, political differences have always had trouble. I had a relationship in grad school fall apart because I was an atheist or whatever. Like everybody's had that experience. These are core things. Not for everybody. Not everybody thinks that they might have political views, but they're not like sort of central to their self-image or whatever. But if it is, it's difficult if you take this stuff seriously and you're going to be around someone that fundamentally disagrees with stuff that you consider very core to who you are.
Yeah, I can see political differences being a huge problem when it comes to raising kids, right? Because I'll give you a specific example. What if a couple has a child who suddenly identifies as transgender? One individual in the relationship wants to consider, helping like puberty blockers or something like that. the other person in the relationship is not in favor of it whatsoever. Like that could be a pretty toxic disagreement when it comes to what they should do to move forward. And so I don't even know how you would deal with that, right? Because that's such a fundamental disagreement that has a huge impact on the child's life. How do you come to the right conclusion or decision? But I also want to say that, if you're open-minded and not easily like offended and it has no impact on the kids whatsoever, some political disagreement could be hot, like it could be fun. You get fiery debates and then, you make up later in fun ways. I'm just saying. So it could cut both ways, maybe. You're not buying it.
I just imagine you like exaggerating disagreements with Christian just to get things going. Like, I didn't used to have such strong opinions about nuclear energy, but you seem to really be against. So, you know what? All in on nukes, baby. Come on.
Show me your reactor.
That sounds like it would be something else. But anyway.
Oh man, look, parenting is tough. Parenting's real tough. So I don't know how you mitigate this. People tend to grow apart as well. I think open dialogue, open communication, and also understanding that a relationship that succeeds is usually a relationship that has some compromise. But it does break my heart to see that like politics is tearing people apart, especially when we're talking about parents and child rearing. But it happens.